So the Trump administration is moving fast with the new kinds of deportation. They're also known as expedited removals. No judge, no court, no nothing. This used to be only a border issue in the past, but now it's becoming the norm with these deportations. And most importantly, who is at risk? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Immigration Channel. In this video, we'll talk about Trump's new plan for expedited removal. These are mass deportations that are happening right now without a court, without a trial. These are expedited removal procedures, and there's new policies, and new people could be impacted by this policy. And I wanted to explain in this video who is impacted, what is changing in this policy, and what you need to know if you're in this country currently right now without status, or know a family member who is in the United States without status. We'll make sure you understand what happened before Trump made these changes and how these changes are being implemented right now. So make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. I'll go through examples, I'll go through the actual policy change, and I'll go through the groups of immigrants that are essentially targeted by this new policy. All right, so let's start first of all with what is happening and what is changing. We're talking about expedited removal. And expedited removal, until these recent changes, was known to be as a border policy, which means that if you come to the United States, you have no papers, you have no documents, they catch you at the border, they essentially detain you, and they send you back. You don't have the right to see a judge, you don't have the right to see anyone, no lawyer. Essentially, this policy is saying the following: if you are caught within 100 miles of the border and you have no documents, you have no right to be in the United States, they'll send you back. You're not eligible for a court, you're not eligible for anything. And so that's been the case for many, many years. Once again, the most common way to understand it is that if you're caught at the border trying to get in, or within 100 miles vicinity of the border, then you don't have the right to see a judge, and immigration officers can essentially remove you. They give you an expedited removal order, and then you are sent back across the border. Under the new policy, things are going to look a little bit different. As I mentioned to you before, if you had no documents, you were caught inside the United States within 100 miles of the border, you were sent back with an expedited removal order. And I have to mention that this order carried a 5-year ban. Under the new policy, if you get caught in the United States, you have to prove that you have at least 2 years of continuous residence inside the United States. If you cannot show 2 years or more, and they think that you've been here less than 2 years, you will be subject to this policy of expedited removal. That's one of the main changes that we see right now. So let's talk about who is actually targeted by this policy. The following list of individuals currently in the United States might be impacted by this policy. Before I break down exactly who's impacted by this policy, I want to ask you for a favor. If you're here for the first time and you're not a subscriber to our channel, please click the notification bell, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our videos. We make those videos every single week. Also, give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. And if you need help with your immigration matters, send me a text, 619-483-4549, or go to www.immigrationasap.com, and one of our team members will contact you ASAP. And now, let's get back into the video. So who is impacted by this policy? So if you enter the United States with the Department of Homeland Security parole, like somebody from Venezuela or Honduras or Nicaragua or Ukraine, any of these countries that had parole, and now that parole has been revoked, you could be subject to expedited removal if you're being apprehended. You could be subject to expedited removal if you're apprehended, if you don't have any other form of relief. So a lot of people who lost their parole status might be able to apply for something else, like asylum or, family petitions. But if you have no other way to stay in the United States except for that parole that is now gone, you potentially could be subject to expedited removal. The second group of people that could be at risk is if you try to apply for asylum, but you didn't apply for asylum within the first year. When you apply for asylum, the law typically says that you should apply for asylum within the first year of entering the United States, unless you have a better reason or some kind of circumstances to explain why you didn't do it. But typically, if you haven't done that, you potentially could be at risk for expedited removal under this new policy. And finally, the biggest group, which I find it to be the most complicated group, is that those individuals that have been inside the United States for less than 2 years. So if you cannot prove that you've been here for more than 2 years, you potentially could be at risk for expedited removal. So knowing that, and you know somebody who is part of that group or subject to those rules that I just mentioned to you, what should you do right now? Well, the most important thing is prepare documents. If you're currently in the United States and you're undocumented, you should collect documents to show that you've been here for more than 2 years. If you've been here for more than 2 years and you don't have any documents, you need to prepare documents to show that you've been here, because you're not just going to be able to say, well, yeah, I just came here in 2019, or I came here before COVID, or whatever that is. You need to show proof, whether it's been documents of work or going to the doctor or any other things that you can have in your possession to be able to show in case you get detained, or give your family members to prove that you've been here for more than 2 years. Because the idea is this: it's not going to stop you from being detained, but at least you'll be able to argue that you should have the right to see a judge. And at that point, it's going to be a different process, but you're going to be able to talk to an attorney, will be able to get you a bond, or whatever it takes to be able to keep you in the country if you have the requirements to be able to stay in the United States, either a family member or whatever that is. But if you can't prove the 2 years physical presence inside the United States, it will give a reason to an ICE officer to detain you and possibly run you through the expedited removal process, which again doesn't allow you to go to in front of a judge, doesn't allow you to submit an appeal, and you'll have a 5-year bar once you are actually removed. So in summary, you can see that mass deportations are everywhere. There are ICE raids in many cities, employers are being raided. But the one thing that people are not understanding is that there's a different kind of deportation right now. Many ICE agents are using expedited removal, essentially grabbing individuals and sending them across the border. How can they do that? They do that if they can classify people under the new policy, saying that they've been here less than 2 years, maybe finding out that they filed for asylum outside of the 1 year rule, or they've been here, they lost their parole, they have no other way to stay in the United States, and now they're subject to expedited removal. So be mindful that this is a policy that is now in place. If you're worried about yourself, if you're worried about the family member, please contact an immigration attorney, get a consultation, put a plan in action, and stay safe. Once again, thanks for watching my videos. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you on the next one.